Let's start with the student loan decision. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote that the Constitution does not allow the president the power to unilaterally forgive student loans. It's up to you in Congress to make this kind of sweeping change. Early in his presidency, remember, even President Biden said he doesn't have that.
Is that her alt?
What's your response to the court?
Yeah, that's what like a bunch of Twitter dumb thought. Like she had an alt account and it was called Zaza Demon or Zaza Smoka. Because they're so fucking dumb. Did you see the insane tweet about her IG post?
I saw that.
I did not.
About her doing yoga.
Wait, what?
It's not even it's barely a post. It's just
This is the AOC unhinged AOC yoga tweet.
It's just a cycle.
AOC is now posting what many would call basic bitch selfies. Is this the precursor to her OnlyFans moment or just a moment of leisure?
Moment of leisure.
What the f?
There's so many of these guys.
These people need to be lobotomized, bro. Like
He's not even blue check. That's weird.
yeah, that's surprising. He's blue check posting. You're right. This guy is a political strategist, by the way. Good strategy, man. It's just being the most unhinged motherfucker on the planet.
He's an Italian American, so I guess he's
I guess it's
oppressed as well.
It's allowed. You're right. It's the Cuomo defense. I'm not perverted, just Italian. It is. Oh God, he's just like violently horny.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how else to describe it other than you're just violently horny in a way.
As long as his audience is the same, it doesn't even matter, right? It's like you're not going to get called out on it.
Oh, this is the T-word semen guy. Oh, this is him. Oh, this is that guy. This guy famously popped off when he was saying like Starbucks has gone woke. Now they're putting T-word semen in their, or no, Chick-fil-A has gone woke. They're putting, trans person slur
Isn't Chick-fil-A
semen.
the homophobic one?
Yeah, Chick-fil-A went woke now because they hired like a DEI guy.
I don't even know what that is.
Diversity, equity,
and
inclusion.
Yeah.
So when you hire a guy like that, that means that you're putting trans girl cum in the milkshakes, which you had recently for the first time ever. It was delicious, right?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
I didn't realize.
yeah. That's what made it. That's what made it so good. He called a lot more than that T-word semen too. He said it about Bud Light too. He literally cannot stop thinking about this stuff. Yeah, I mean. The fact that this is even 3,000 likes, honestly, you have to, everyone should be put on a list if they like this, okay? If they're like, wow, this is really great. I'm a fan of this tweet. You see that and you click on it. You click on like, even on accident, you need to go to a re-education camp, straight up. Re-education schools, only freaks call them camps. No, re-education camps is what they need, okay? Not school, camps. Anyway. I want to run away from this conversation as fast as possible. So let's get back to this.
What the court was also ruling on was with respect to the HEROES Act. But our response is very strong in that Congress has given the president that authority in the Higher Education Act. The president very squarely has, as well, using his Secretary of Education, the ability to cancel student loans. But as we've seen, not just in what we saw ruled from the majority, but even in the minority dissent written around these cases, we have justices saying that the Supreme Court is going themselves much too far. They are expanding their role into acting as though they are Congress itself. And that, I believe, is an expansion of power that we really must be focusing on. The danger of this court and the abuse of power in this court, particularly as it is related to the entanglements around conflicts of interest as well.
You mentioned the Higher Education Act. President Biden came out and proposed a different path forward for student loan forgiveness under certain circumstances. Listen to what he said.
We will ground this new approach in a different law than my original plan, the so-called Higher Education Act. This new path is legally sound. It's going to take longer, but in my view, it's the best path that remains to providing for as many borrowers as possible with debt relief.
So just to be clear, he is saying that what he wants to do now is to try to use his executive power under what you were mentioning, the Higher Education Act, which is different from what the Supreme Court struck down. You are not only a member of Congress, I believe you still have student loans. This plan could take up to a year
That's
to
true.
take
Surely she
effect.
doesn't have to, though.
Is there
What?
more that he
Surely
could
she makes
or
enough
should
money
be
to
doing?
pay him off.
I don't know. I don't know what her finances look like, but I mean, you make 170 grand a year as a congressperson. That's the salary, 172, I think. But when you're also in Congress, you have to have one a rented location or a purchased one, obviously in the district that you represent, and also one in Washington D.C. And Washington D.C. is hella expensive.
Oh, shit.
So when you have an apartment in D.C. and New York City, 170 grand probably not enough. You know what I mean?
Bit.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize. I thought they.
Dude, it's so funny. Like, fucking congresspersons would like room together in like nasty ass conditions, even back in the day. Like, not only that, but if there's a moratorium of student loan interest accrual, it may be more financially sound for her to allocate her money elsewhere. What was it? They have like the Schumer pad. Yeah, we've watched it before. Chuck Schumer used to live in like the shag pad. Let's see if I can find it.
I don't want to see that.
Oh yeah, here it is. The real Alpha House. Yes, this is where some senators actually live.
Paint peeling off the walls, sheets covering the windows, broken blinds, a mangled chair covered up with a wood board, an ancient stove with a giant hole, and yes, that's underwear in the living room. What looks and feels like the most run-down frat house on campus is actually the Capitol Hill home of some of the most powerful men in Washington.
They have to probably pay so much money too.
House.
I love what you've done with the place.
Thank you.
Dick Durbin and
cannot
Chuck
be true.
Schumer, the second and third ranking Senate Democrats,
Wait, one of them just
live
sleeps in
here
the living room?
together.
You guys got the rent from him?
Their landlord and third roommate is Democratic Congressman George Miller.
I don't blame anyone for insider trading now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like this is, if you're living like that, you got to start breaking
Well,
the
I
law.
think like this was in 2013. I mean, obviously situations for Chuck Schumer and the like have improved dramatically since then. But I don't know. I don't know why they lived in quarters like this, but I do know that like ultimately they don't spend a lot of time in DC, obviously. And basically, you know, it's really expensive. Like DC is incredibly unlivable, right? Are you still on TYT? Yeah, man. Have you covered the new Jim Caviezel film to try to shed light on the evils of trafficking? Thank God someone is.
Yeah,
Thank
everyone
God.
else is talking about the positives all the time.
I was gray on trafficking personally, so I'm glad that someone covered the evils of trafficking.
About time.
I'm glad that they shed light on this. What's next, dude? The evils of pedophilia? Like, what next are they going to uncover and shed light on? It's a QAnon movie.
I'd like to watch that.
Yeah, chatters who said, "Why did you shit on him?" Where is that chatter? I think it was like Virtual Meal or whatever. Yeah, why did you shit on him, lol? Hey, you know why I shat on him? Because I could fucking smell it from a mile away that dude was a weirdo. Because he said, shed light on the evils of trafficking. Don't ever fucking doubt my ability to snipe like a nasty freak in the chat. Immediately, the guy said, are you still at TYT? Jim Caviezel is a genius. He knows his audience. Church mills with small brains who pass around those TikToks saying, if you have a tissue on your car, call the cops, etc. They will go to that movie as church groups.
Is this the tissue on your car real? Is this what gangs do? They signal they're gonna.
No, it's like every now and then, like TikToks will go viral of like exactly what M Hood was talking about, where they're like, here are 15 different ways of like, surviving a pedophile attack at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break. Yeah, if you see a piece of cheese on your car, you've been marked for sex trafficking. Run.
I love that there's like a signal that you should be sex trafficked outside of just like.
Yeah.
Someone thinking you're sexy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, no, we need, this is the secret.
I don't even think that's.
No, I mean, like.
I like to think that that's what they're thinking. They're like, oh, wow, this lady is sexy. She needs to be sex trafficked.
Put some cheese on. No. Look, the reason it doesn't come across well is I'm obviously not a sex trafficker. I don't know how these people think. You know, I'm just spitballing here. I'm just trying to work it out.
Sex traffickers are just sitting around going like, wow, well, that's a sexy lady. We should sex traffic her. That was literally Tate's business model. Okay, true. That is how they did it, and they're like the most famous. Yeah, the highly competitive business. Okay. This is why the documentary is so important. Oh, Jesus. Okay. That was great. That's awesome.
I'm learning.
Okay, I don't care about the AOC called out for extreme reaction to SCOTUS.
Ocasio-Cortez is calling for extreme action to put a check on the Supreme Court after their rulings striking down affirmative action in Biden's student loan forgiveness plan.
We have justices saying that the Supreme Court is going themselves much too far. They are expanding their role into acting as though they are Congress itself. We really must be focusing on the danger.
Yeah, no one has ever said the Supreme Court legislates from the bench ever before and has criticized that ever before. It's like a very radical thing to say. So extreme, dude. I was like, what else could AOC say that's like super fucking normal and basic that you would people could fucking freak out, get their panties in a bunch over. Let me get one. Yeah.
Did you hear about that time she went to go do yoga?
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
Okay, no.
You're right about that. That's what I think. Anytime someone is doing yoga, I think, well, hello, OnlyFans. Time for that.
Danger of this court and the abuse of power in this court. There also must be impeachment on the table. The Supreme Court has not been receiving the adequate oversight necessary in order to preserve their own legitimacy.
By the way, all those things are true. They cut it out as though she was saying that about their decision making, which, by the way, even if she said it exclusively about their decision making process, she would be right. But she's additionally right, and right from a popular perspective, when she says the Supreme Court is illegitimate because of all of the financial misgivings, all of the trips that Clarence Thomas is going on, all the other justices also on top of that, getting special privileges and bribes. A lot of this stuff has absolutely and should absolutely stain the reputation of the institution, right? But of course, you can't have that conversation on Fox News. So instead, you have to fucking clip chimp and be like, AOC thinks this way because the Supreme Court deliberated in a way that she doesn't like, and she's just being a meanie bobini. Even if she was saying it because the Supreme Court is legislating from the bench, which is not what they're supposed to do, then she would still be right.
Brewer Group CEO Jack Brewer joins us now. Jack, good morning to you. Quite the comment from the Congresswoman there. She's accusing the Supreme Court
you can tell.
Overreach, abuse of power. But if you look at what the Supreme Court is actually doing, they're decentralizing power. In the case of abortion, handing it back down to the states. In the case of student loan debt, the Supreme Court, Jack, is saying that Congress needs to make that decision.
Every American patriot has a Fox News wall specifically so they can just, mine is Obama and the Queen. That's how I do it.
And which Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a member of.
That's exactly right. What the Supreme Court is doing is actually sticking to the Constitution, which seems extreme to many today, because for years we've seen things move so far to the left. When you talk about the Supreme Court ruling on sexuality and marriage and abortion and all these things in the past, where they essentially did not go by the Constitution, now they're doing that. And I think they're doing an amazing job. Where they're actually bringing some balance back to America when we're seeing so much craziness happen around us.
Yeah, it's constitutional when an insane person, consider it to be crazy. Things like having civil liberties and equal rights, or some kind of racial restitution for all of the racial wrongs that were committed. That is like marginal and not all that significant. These are the things that I think are crazy, and we got to stop it.
It's really refreshing to see a Supreme Court actually stand for the document that's helped found this nation.
Well, I mean, it seems like, according to this new poll, this ABC poll, it asked if they approved of the SCOTUS decision restricting the use of race as a factor in college. 52% approve, 32%.
It's actually shockingly lower than I thought it would be. Also, the irony is not lost on me when they go, oh, this Supreme Court decision was very popular. Where the fuck were these polls on Fox News when they did it on criminalizing abortion? Because that had a significantly higher disapproval rating than 32%. As a matter of fact, that was 75 fucking percent. Interesting. Guys, stop. Every time we see a poll, You don't have to go 937 people. That is a perfectly valid number of people to poll. This is how polls work. Polls are not the census. You do not poll every single American. Please.
And disapprove. 16% don't know, but going a little deeper into that poll, Jack, what was interesting to me was that 58% of independent voters who responded to that said they approved. What's that tell you about the state of our country?
It tells you that people are sick and tired of talking about skin color. The fact that I come on this show and I have to be looked at as just a black man before you listen to a word come out of my
That's really interesting. Why do you think Fox News called up on you to talk about affirmative action? I wonder.
Who's the former NFL player?
Why are they not? Why didn't they call you up about, like, I don't know, tax cuts? Why aren't you the tax guy at Fox News? Why are you the affirmative action guy? Or let me guess, in certain circumstances, I'm sure they would also do like, here are the people, the black guest hosts that they call on. Here are the subjects that they speak on. This Republican figure is not racist. That's another famous one. CRT is bad. That's another good one. Affirmative action is bad. This is what he's doing. And then also there's my other favorite one, which is police brutality is not that big of a deal, and black people should pick themselves up by their bootstraps. So you could say that it's not, it's bullshit. They only see you as a black person and that you should be a monolith or whatever. But like, that's precisely the reason why Fox News is having you on to speak about this matter.
My mouth. That is the culture that we've created, but we can't deny the fact that it was sad that we even needed an affirmative action plan because they wouldn't let black people in college years ago. But now those things have changed, and I think the fact that you're forcing universities to look at race and the color of their skin, that's exactly the reason we have the generation that we have now. Everything that happens, it's not about the issues. Now it's become about your identity, and I think that's a sad thing. I think what the Supreme Court did was to give, really truly give the decision making back to the parents and the teachers and the universities. You can still let kids in based upon poverty levels, and that's really what we should be looking at in our nation. We should be giving opportunity to those that are the least of these, just like the Bible tells us to do. The Bible doesn't tell us to go out and pick and choose based on race. It tells us to help our poor brothers and sisters, and we can still do that at colleges and universities, and that's what really matters. Let's uplift people out of poverty instead of
they immediately
teaching a generation to look at race.
Debt.
And I'll tell you another thing. The next step the Supreme Court needs to do in this country is we need to remove the race box from all of our identity across the board. We're the only country in the world that forces people to talk about their skin color. My kids are Persian and black and European. They're mixed with everything. And so now they're confused because they don't have a box that particularly says where their parents are from. Picking and choosing skin color is what's destroying this nation. And I really hope these presidential candidates start to address this mess so we can end all this racial division.
Jack, speaking of the presidential candidate,
where do most black people live in cities, I wonder, or in rural areas even? Like, why are there enclaves for black people? Is it self-selection, or is it, forced upon an entire group of people through redlining and other forms of systemic discrimination? A racial wrong that was not corrected. In a country where public institutions, which is the most accessible form of education for poor people, are funded by local tax dollars, as a matter of fact, which implies that, or which creates a system where, public institutions that predominantly are serving the poor in a lot of circumstances, like, for example, in the Chicago public schooling system, black and brown students are underfunded due to them being primarily funded by the local taxes. This is yet one of many different ways in which black people are systematically kept behind, underserved. On purpose, deliberately. So the whole don't check a box, don't tick a box or whatever is just incredibly fucking stupid. This is all done on purpose.
Candidates, 5 GOP presidential hopefuls gave speeches at the Moms for Liberty event in Philadelphia this weekend. Moms for Liberty, of course, is an
Moms for Liberty, the famous Hitler defenders. Did you see that one?
No, we interviewed them at Disneyland.
Oh yeah, they're insane.
When their kids were becoming gay.
Yeah. Have all their kids become gay?
Hopefully.
Oh, they apologized for it.
What?
I hate when my newsletter is quoting Hitler in a positive light.
Is it like attributing it to Hitler, or it's just like
No, literally straight up. An Indiana chapter of Monster Liberty, a nonprofit that advocates for parental rights and education, was recently labeled as extremist by an anti-hate watchdog and is apologizing and condemning Adolf Hitler after using a quote attributed to the Nazi leader in its inaugural newsletter. The group's Hamilton County chapter on Thursday posted a revised version of its newly launched newsletter, The Parent Brigade, and they said, "We condemn Adolf Hitler's actions and his dark place in human history. We should not have quoted him in our newsletter and express our deepest apologies." And if you're wondering what they quoted, the first version of the newsletter included the quote, "He alone who owns the youth gains the future," and cited Hitler. While the origin of the quote is not entirely clear, it has been attributed in numerous historical texts to a 1935 rally speech by the Nazi leader. That's exactly how Hitler presented it as well. Like the Hitler Youth was designed specifically to do this, to like ideologically train kids to be fascist. Very odd. Anyway, they did it again. Another oopsie.
Organization that champions school choice and parents' rights in education. Let's take a listen to what some of those candidates had to say.
They will never forget. Don't mess with America's moms.
We don't subcontract our leadership out to woke corporations. We stand for parents and we stand for kids.
Our kids need to know to love America. They need to be saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Making decisions
Pledge of
for your
Allegiance is
children
so funny.
that
Such a
make
wild
sense
concept.
for them.
We will shut.
It's fucked up that our kids are not saying it anymore.
Are they? Aren't they still saying?
No, they are saying it still. Dude, there is not a single thing that Republicans have actually advocated for that isn't already happening. Here's what it is, okay? They'll take something that is already fucking happening, that no one has ever been like, yeah, let's just take this away. And they'll act like people are trying to take it away only to like create a problem. And then the solution is just like more of the same, I guess. Like kids are still saying the fucking pledge, man.
Bizarre. I remember we were talking about the pledge like a month ago with Gant from Trash Taste. So I was trying to get my head around. I was like, we don't have this in Australia. Like, if it's just actually happen every day in school. Like, you stand up and pledge to the flag. And then he was talking about how like the only reference he has is growing up in Thailand, and like at the cinema before the movie starts, you get up and pledge allegiance to the king.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That sounds ridiculous.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's like identical.
Sorry if misinformed. Doesn't that quote from Hitler mean as he wants to control the youth? Yes. And that's what the Moms for Liberty want to do as well, for the same reasons.
It down, starting with agencies that should not exist, like the U.S. Department of Education.
How important, Jack, do you think the education issue will be in 2024? And what changes would you, someone who works with children on a day-to-day basis, like to see?
You know, this is the most critical issue that we're facing right now. And I think these candidates, they should be applauded because they are addressing the issues that are destroying our nation at its core. But when you start to look deeply in what's going on in our education system, it has to go to the public school level. You know, one issue that you have when you just focus on the parents is that some kids don't have parents. And when we have a fatherlessness crisis like we have in our nation with over 24.5 million fatherless kids, it's time for us also to start looking out for those kids that don't have parents involved that will stand up for them, because that's what's destroying the country. Those are the kids that you see, the 28 that just got shot in Baltimore and every other weekend. Those are the kids that need help, or those fatherless children. And so
Wait, there was another shooting recently?
These Republican candidates.
Brother, I was here. I've missed out. I'm having such a great time with the anime.
Brother, there have been at least like 3 every day. What do you mean? There's always
28
shooting.
is such a big number, though. I feel like that would have made the news. No, I don't know. I missed out on a couple.
There have been 330 this year so far. We're halfway through officially.
This issue because it is the cancer of America. It's causing us to have violence. It's causing us to have poor educational outcomes with kids that don't have any reading and math proficiencies throughout, dozens and dozens of high schools in each city don't have kids that are reading and math.
I love that they also use other problems that they exacerbate and cause to create further issues in other areas. They're like, mass shootings are a big problem. That's why school shootings are a problem. We shouldn't let our children go to school. Actually, we should homeschool them.
Yeah,
Efficient. And so
absolutely.
we
Jack,
really
it's such
have
an
to address
important
that.
topic, and the fatherlessness issue is something that Larry Elder
Fucking idiots, dude.
constantly brings up every single interview. That's his #1 focus. So we'll see if it catches on, and more of the candidates talk about that as well.
guy
Jack,
called
I love
Larry
it. Thank you
Elderly?
so much for joining
Larry
us.
Elder.
Oh, okay.
I've debated him. He ran for governor of California. Now he's running for president, actually.
Ah, good on him.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Friend of the show. I destroyed him.
How come you're not running for president then? Sounds like he won.
It doesn't work that way.